Yeah.
Recording.
And
All
Sean,
right.
can I
Hi,
assume you're
everyone.
in Seattle? Sorry.
I'm not. No,
Just
I'm in Columbia, Missouri.
okay. You're wearing the Seattle shirt, so
Oh yeah. It's this is like my favorite t-shirt these days. It comes out of the wash, I put it on.
so sorry. Go for the intro.
No, you're
Oh,
good.
okay. I love it. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Chaos Data Science Working Group meeting. We have in the chat the link to our Google Docs. Please feel free to put your name down as an attendee for today's meeting, and any other agenda items that you have that you'd like to discuss today. It is my first meeting back from being away for a few months. I just had some changes in employment, and I'm happy to be back with the Chaos group and excited to see others joining in and some new faces here. Um, so we typically have an icebreaker that we discuss at the beginning of it, but I see that I did not do my due diligence in putting that in. So hopefully in the next meeting that we have, we'll have that included. Um, the first item for our agenda today is project updates. And so I think our first one that's listed here is OHM monthly meetings. Is that anyone's item here on this call today?
I think that indicates a group presentation that we had
Okay.
the last time we met, I believe. So I think it's just letting us
No,
know.
he's doing it's referring to a monthly call that group is doing.
Okay. It's not a chaos group though, right? It's a different group. It's straight out of the Ohm group that I forget his name is leading.
Yes.
Right.
So he did do a single Cooper did a presentation going through
Cooper.
the analysis, and now they're doing monthly meetings through like regarding that group. And so I think it was just to let people know that they're still interested in that analysis, that they'll be meeting going forward at that time.
What is the OHM? Just to provide some context for others and myself.
Callie, do you know? Can you synopsize it? It's more than a tool.
I would probably, let's see if there is, yeah, and on the 15th, there was a deep dive session. So if people want to see the recording of that, it has linked their website, their GitHub, and their prototypes, and the presentation from that. The acronym is, I'm just opened up the presentation notes from that day. It's open heart and mind. It's like a wisdom project, and the goal is to find a trustworthy system that can quantify the collective value of any contribution with respect to community values and goals. And so it's very much a way to value contributions that's not just limited to code contributions. They have a lot of the links in under the special deep dive section, the presentations in there and all the good links. And if people are interested, I recommend looking at the video or messaging Cooper directly. He's been very active and wanting people, like, is really happy at people who haven't asked him questions. So he's presented in a few different groups over the last month.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that background, Kelly. Appreciate it. Okay, so the next item we have on the agenda is the Chaos Data Science Hackathon. and we're gonna do it on the morning of Thursday, June 26th, before CHAOSScon in the afternoon. I do have a few updates on that. I've been working with Dr. Scott French who's an assistant professor at the CU downtown Denver campus. They're able to get us. Thank you for sharing that, and I apologize. I actually tried clicking share, but it said I didn't have the rights to share my screen.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
Oh, all good. Thank you for sharing it up. So I spoke to Scott French at the downtown campus, and they are able to get a location for us. I'm waiting to hear back if they've actually booked it, and if the 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. slot would work. I believe the last correspondence I had with them was that they were able to do 10 to 1, but I was just checking to see if 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock would work. Um, so they'll book that room for us. It does hold up to 75 people. It is a commons space, and so we do have to move some tables around for setup, but I think it should be okay. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be good. I mean, a common space in the summertime at a college, that should be basically free space.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're hoping. I
Yeah.
know the system to reserve is a little bit wonky and there's a lot of rules that come with it, but we'll kind of get through it. And then we just have to figure out a little bit about security. How do we let people into the building? So I think we may have to have one or two people at different doors. So I think maybe we need to put in here like one or two volunteers for the hackathon to be able to go to sit at doors and let people in and check that they're here for the hackathon and not something else.
Yeah, I can
Um,
volunteer to be a door person.
yeah, yep, me too. I can be
Uh,
there. Um, and then I think we may I was also thinking, are we thinking of, I know there's the break between that and Chaos Con and everyone will kind of go off and have a break, but um I know Dawn had mentioned that we might be able to also get kind of some sponsorships for lunch or a meal or snacks or something. Is that still possible, or should we how do we look into that, or how do we start reaching out to folks for that?
What time
I
does
th
CHAOSScon start?
Is it 1? Is it 1:30?
Because if it's
Um,
one, it's going to be a pretty tight. I mean, at this, because I know a lot of us are involved in the CHAOSScon organizing, so it'll be good to move it up to 9 if that's available. Because if CHAOSScon starts at 1, we'll have to like at latest leave the facility like this at 12:30.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll try to push for 9. Maybe we even um yeah, I think maybe even get you guys out earlier so it doesn't feel like too crammed, I guess.
yeah, I'm looking at the CHAOSScon the private committee channel, and it looks like it is scheduled to start at 1. And I
Okay.
think Elizabeth's recommendation from last week is that we try to wrap up around 12:30 at the latest, so as to not overlap with CHAOSScon. Um,
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I don't think that it might be like just depending on the size. I don't know how you'd go about getting um a sponsor, but getting like catered lunch or even, I mean, I'm expecting this to be a pretty small informal group
Mhm.
of a having a chosen place where people put in their orders before and it's just delivered to the site and then we have lunch at 12:30 as we're wrapping up. Like I would expect, I would be shocked to see more than 10, 20 people. And
yeah,
and so trying to think about it from that scale
Right.
standpoint and thinking that most of the people are going to be going for to CHAOSScon after, but even it could always be a little bit more informal than that if we don't get a sponsor of, hey, we're doing an order from here at this time, and everyone kind of doing it together. So then there's one delivery and everyone can expense it themselves, and just having that plan in place beforehand. So it is just say, okay, everybody, we're ordering at this time. This is where we're ordering from. We're getting the delivery. So there's not any like downtime because it's going to be tight between everything. So I think at the
Yeah.
very least, we have this is where we're ordering from. This is the time that we're going to order it. And everybody does their order and just puts on their comment, hey, this is coming from this to the same place as all the other orders you're getting right now. Please deliver them together. And so then it's kind of a little bit more in place.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could probably take care of sponsoring lunch for a group. Basically, I have some money from a company that I could probably use, because I mean, I imagine for like if it's like 30 people, even $20 each is only like $600.
Yeah,
So
and that's like on the high end. And so that would be like a
yeah,
perfect situation where it's like, okay, get like fill out this form, have your order in, then we can have all of that done and planned, or we do it in the morning, but we kind of decide on all that before. So then it's just we put in the order, it's scheduled to be delivered at 11:30.
yeah. I mean, I would use some of the money I have at my disposal to pay for lunch, just to avoid the issues of people being hungry at CHAOSScon.
Yeah, I think I think there's a good way of going. I think that'd be like the easiest way of going about it. We have one sponsor, we choose one place that covers all dietary restrictions and have a order form. And that you have to have the order in by 9:30 a.m. So it gives people time if they didn't see it before they got there to do it right when they get there. We could do the order, schedule delivery time, and then nobody has to think about it.
Yeah, that works out. I like that idea a lot, Kelly. And thank you, Sean, for being willing to help cover that. I
Oh,
can
you should thank Red Hat.
oh thanks, Red Hat. Thanks, Callie.
Daddy Shadow Man.
Mhm.
I can find us a place and then see what we can order from somewhere. And do we want that at the hackathon, or do we want it at the build at CHAOSScon?
No, hackathon,
Hackathon.
because otherwise I don't have money to pay for all of CHAOSScon's food.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
hackathon.
I think it's hackathon and aim for it to be delivered at like 11:30 so we have eat wrap up time. I think that I envision the hackathon will probably be a lot of small groups working through things together, and so you can people can eat, have a little bit of time, and then aiming for the groups to leave to move over to CHAOSScon. We'll need to route it, but if it's a 10-minute walk, we're going to want to leave at 12:30. If
Mhm.
it's long, like trying to figure out that exact time of transport between the two locations.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be
yeah,
kind of a 10-minute walk. And then
Oh, perfect.
yeah, and then I do like the fact that we'll do it at the hackathon, because there's actually just a heads up for you all to know, for OSSNA, the food is not going to be good, because the convention center requires that you use their caterers. And I've just went to 2 events there this year, and the food is horrible. So just a heads up.
Oh,
Good, good.
oh.
It's like
Yeah.
worse than conference food. It is like
Oh, so
over.
you've just been there. I did
Yeah.
message you, and I'll be curious to hear if you have any suggestions about a place for us to go to after CHAOSScon. I'm like organizing the unofficial like kind of meetup afterwards. I was starting to get some locations together, but especially since you've just been there, if there's any place that you think would be a good idea, send it over to me and I can kind of add it to the list that I'm planning on giving to the CHAOSScon committee.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send you some places. Just putting a note here.
That's good to know. So it's a 10-minute walk. That gives us a good time where it's like everywhere we're set to head out at 12:30 if people want to walk over together. And that gives good time to get there before CHAOSScon starts.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see if we can start at 9 and at 11:30, everyone can eat, and then you guys can start walking over just to give you guys some breathing time.
Yeah, aiming to end at like 12, 12:30. Like if we can start at 9, then I would say end at 12. If we have to start at 10, then I think we should go till 12:30.
Okay. And I looked through some notes. We haven't started talking about the agenda for the hackathon yet either. Is that correct?
No, we haven't started talking about it just yet.
Okay, so let me draft something and then maybe we could bring it to this next meeting to talk through what are the
Yeah.
things that we want to do.
Yeah, I happy to work on this together. I like kind of how I've always thought about it is like I think it'll be good to come into the hackathon with people having either like project ideas of like these are things we've been working on and we'd like to extend working on this. These are new ideas. And so then there's like 4 or 5 topic areas of projects or analysis that's already been defined,
Okay.
and then small groups can kind of work together to further that project together, so then you're set up well going forward to work on it asynchronously.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I will start to draft that and then we can use our next meeting to talk through some topics and actually start getting some marketing out to groups to join and be able to review those projects before June 26th.
Yes, sounds great.
All right, I see the next agenda item is next steps on the foundation stats project, and that is Sal.
Yes, that's me. A quick note for the screen share. We're currently on upload to a face search, which I'm super curious about. But yeah, so I worked on the foundation stats. So these are from Eclipse Foundation, OpenSSF, and CNCF. I've gotten those all together and scraped and into one big data set that we can then go play with. I have that stalled in a PR for CHAOSS, and I have not touched it again for the last 6 weeks because I have a job that overlaps right now, usually with this meeting, which is my only accountability.
Huh.
So, um, what I'm wondering for this is I was thinking about it, and I'm working with a couple of students right now, and students today are different from the students that I was working with before. They seem to be more comfortable playing with raw data only if they have something like a Google Colab environment. So I'm wondering, number one, like what's the timeline for this? I could hand something off in time for like the hackathon. And if so, um, what I am kind of thinking about doing right now, and let me know if y'all have any ideas based on working with students, is packaging that up, putting it into Hugging Face because it's a little bit too big, and then creating like a Jupyter notebook that walks them through and gives them ideas of ways that they should do data visualizations for it. So it gives them the code, gives them everything to run, but that's like making it very, very easy for them to have the learning experience within it. So that'll take me a little bit of time to refactor, but I think
I,
that might be the next step. Any better ideas?
I think that's a good idea, especially since these collab environments, they tend to be CPU limited and memory limited a little bit. And so if we can reshape the data to be kind of in a more perfect is a bad word, but in the best and most useful analytical shape, then that will require a lot less processing power for them to experiment with, right?
Yeah, but they do have a single GPU core that they can use per email per day,
Okay.
approximately 12 hours. I've been taking advantage.
Yeah, excellent.
So yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna package it, and so I'll resubmit that as a PR. I'll see if that's something that we want to bring into the hackathon. I would have to have it ready by what, the 26th, I believe. Excellent. I can have that ready
Yes.
in early June. And then the last question I have on there is that I assume this project really is probably going to formally kick off now when students are back in session in early August and September. But in the meantime, we have a really interesting use case that might extend from our analysis. And I'm just wondering if anyone finds it as interesting as I do. So all of the analysis that we're doing so far is looking at how a project behaved before it joined a foundation and how it behaved afterwards, because there were no good examples of recency of one leaving. We now have one. We have a single project that's looking to remove itself from CNCF. And depending on that timeline, I think that would be a really cool use case to bring into the final paper. But any thoughts on that, or do we think it's out of scope?
I think it'd be interesting to look at. I would say to kind of wait to see how the like political
It
landscape
turns out.
around this
Yeah.
turns out. But just from like a purely, for me, it's like I'm not coming at this from like a systematic research purpose. I'm just curious. And from a I'm just curious standpoint, it'd be interesting to see the data, but whether it should be like included in a research paper, I'd probably wait to see how, because I mean, I think this is something that everyone's kind of looking at to see what happens, because no one really knows where this
Yeah.
is going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the real after effect of that is that it's analysis that we can possibly run and have set up for future events if they take place, but it's very unlikely that Linux Foundation would touch it if we made that a very strong point. So I think just sticking with the core analysis and then having that as a possibility moving forward, I'll keep it in mind because we have to
Yeah.
change the pipelines.
One of the good things, and that's like I find to be one of the benefits of Jupyter Notebooks, is that when you have similar structured data, it's very easy to repeat the same analysis on a different repository. So, like I'm coming at it from using data in Augur, and so I all the time repeat the same analysis. And once you have it set up, it's changing a single line of what repository or repositories it's looking at, and then you can kind of see comparative analysis with very little extra work.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think the data as it stands would be fun to play with in a hackathon for like a group that wants to do a data visualization and interpretability project. So we might be able to bring that in, but that's just one. So there's plenty of other things for them to work on.
Yes. Great. Thank you so much.
So is it that you guys were only able to find one that was publicly announced? Because I think I know of two others, but I just searched them and they may have not been publicly announced that they left a foundation.
Yeah. So what typically happens is that they essentially get archived or they completely remove the project from the internet if it's no longer stewarded. So there's no longer a community to contribute. In this case, they're going to be possibly switching over to a business license, and the nature of that code is still up for debate as to whether or not the community engages with it. So, yeah,
The construct of a business license is the most Orwellian
yeah,
baloney in the history of open source. It's like it's not a business license; it's not an open source license.
yeah, yeah.
So
By
let's
definition.
not mince words.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think potentially it's an interesting use case, but yeah, I think from the vibes that I'm getting here, it's exactly what I thought. It's a little bit too hot to touch. Plus, like empirically, it's a little bit too hot to touch. We don't know the answer yet.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think that's it on my side.
Okay. We have a few reminders, but before I get into that, I wanted to see if anyone else on the call had any other agenda items. So we have a few other folks join us. I did see, I know before everyone joined, I did have, I saw on the Slack channel, Ajero put up that she submitted a PR for the docs, and I can take a look at that today. And Ajero, feel free to, if you're in there, I think you can assign any items to yourself if you want to take it on. You're welcome to do that. Um, you don't have to
I
ask
don't
any
know
of
if
us.
she's gonna have permission. Like, so if you're not a member of the org, you might not have permissions.
Oh,
I
you
know.
can't. Okay, I see. Okay, I can go ahead and assign it to you then, and then, um,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and just a quick note, Ajiro got in contact with me a couple of weeks ago and wanted to get more open source experience. So I said, you should show up to the friendliest part of the Linux Foundation. And so they're here and they're going to help. So moving on that first ticket should be great.
Awesome. Glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here, hoping to learn and to contribute more.
Yeah, and I saw Peculiar is also online, and they were able to put in where to go to start contributing as well. So one of I know Dawn and myself and Peculiar had also talked a little bit about a report that we're starting to write up. It's going to be a similar to um, the Linux Foundation reports, and I think that's our goal, is to get this out through the Linux Foundation research group through Hillary Carter. But we've been starting on writing a report on the forks and relicensing project. And I think from some of my initial findings in 8 knot, we were looking at staleness as one of the key metrics. And so if anyone wants to look at staleness with me, please reach out. I haven't had time to actually dig into it. But that is one of the metrics that would be interesting based off what we found in 8 knot with 3 different projects: Valkey, OpenSearch, and OpenTofu, or their original projects before they were being forked, and how stale those PRs got before the fork happened. So that would be an interesting topic to review with anyone here on the call. And then another one that I'm kind of working through is looking at the security component. So in 8 knot, you can look at the Open SSF scorecard, and then there's other ways you can review the scorecard for those repos. And just from an initial review, you can see there that um, uh, when the projects were forked, they actually had better scores on the scorecard than the original project. There might be a few factors that contribute to that, and I just need to kind of look through if that hypothesis, or if that data is actually true, if forked projects actually have better security. I think that is a little bit of a sensitive topic, because there might be some limitations to it, but I can start to dig into that some more as we start to write up this report.
Adrian had posted something in Slack indicating that one of the fork projects we've been looking at, Redis, has actually readopted an open source license.
Oh.
Adrian, I don't know if you're able to talk about it. I saw that and I thought it was interesting, and I don't know the background or depth of why Redis decided to do that.
Yeah, that just was something that I saw just in my feed, essentially. I think I sort of skimmed the blog post, but I don't
Same here. That's
remember off the top of my head exactly why. I imagine it was just, hey, people were complaining about it. I don't know. But
yeah.
it just seems like, yeah,
probably
I don't know if they like fully switched back, or if they just added a GPL to their like list of dual licensed, like valid licenses. But yeah, it's effectively open source again now. But like, it seems like I would imagine that Valkey is still gonna be the community favorite, considering it's like now part of the Linux Foundation and like
Yeah.
all sort of independently managed.
I don't know if this is probably not the forum for it. I'm not sure I really fully understand the phenomena of this idea of a dual license, what does that, to me, that seems, I can't resolve that in my head. Like, what does it do? I mean, what does it mean to have a open source license and a not open source license? I'm not sure I fully understand what the implications of that are.
So for the most part, it limits the liability of the maintaining party, such that if they, like for Redis, a lot of these are business integrations. So if it is typically part of a paid product and they're expected to do like paid support, then it's going to be licensed under the license that makes that very clear. So that the dual license with something that is way more open basically means that, okay, if you are using it under this license because we have no formal agreement with you as the any end user in the world, we're also not beholden to your like additional security concerns if you want to do anything else to it. That's like the very, very, very highest level version of it. So you're only
So
going to see it on projects that have like typically dual corporate use.
that makes me think that the reincorporation of an open source license is not makes it seem to me like maybe that's not a generous or
No,
or
it's to keep
good
the
act.
contributor
It's
community.
Yeah, it's like a avoidance of litigation choice, which is interesting.
Pretty much.
I'm learning things here.
Yeah, but
I
it
also
is.
wonder if this is going to become more common with the like while the CRA, the Cyber Resiliency Act in the EU starts to become people start to actually understand what it means. Because I mean, I could speak as like from a Red Hat perspective for like, are we a steward? What are we a steward of? Where is this falling? As companies start to realize their own responsibility under the CRA, I think this is going to become more and more common and will probably end up being a project in itself to look into the change behaviors around it. What does this actually mean? Because the people who aren't like familiar with the CRA side, there's different distinctions that companies or individuals can have. I know steward is one of them. I think practitioner maybe, but there's different groupings that hold a level of responsibility that you have, like legal responsibility that you have around an open source code base. And there's a lot of jockeying of just figuring out what does this mean? How do we like who's grouped under what? There's a lot up in the air, but I would assume that as the dust starts to settle and people start to understand where they fall in this, that this dual license thing is going to become more and more common because people are going to be like, I don't want to be considered a steward. I don't want the legal responsibility of this. And so you might even start to see a license emerge that like I don't know. This is going to be something for all of us to kind of pay attention to see how this dust settles.
Yeah. There is, I don't think I'm getting us to exactly the right part of GitHub for this, but the group that I would lean on for CRA guidance right now, the ORC through the Eclipse Foundation, and they're working pretty in tandem with OpenSSF. But and I will go find because there's a whole like matrix of all the current issues, and I'm specifically in charge of answering the issues for open source / maintainers. This is a like the spot where that goes past after we go through the initial analysis of them. But where it really lines out for the CRA, the very clear understanding is that there has to be an exchange of money in order for you to be considered a producer as they consider it in the CRA. So that fits very, very cleanly for paid projects. Not so cleanly, something that we're trying to work out right now is like, okay, but if a company pays maintainers, right, or receives external funding for a project, even if that's a donation, in that case, do they still have to do the security protocols for it? Kind of open questions because the CRA could have been written by a more technical group of people originally, and now we're refactoring it so it makes sense. But if you have any open questions on that, there's absolutely like groups to go and talk to right now so that you can get those communications in. Because kind of as the final draft of those facts come out, that's really what will be getting implemented out to like between no matter where you are through the Linux Foundation, they're going to be leaning on that fact. So yeah, good time to get involved if you think that anything's ambiguous, because it is. It's not just a read.
Yeah. Luckily, I am not the one, like, there's like, we have security community architects and a whole product security team that is responsible for all of this, but I'm kind of in the corner, I've been helping like analyze different projects to find the people with, like, since we are like, I work at Red Hat, there's 20,000 people. You have all these projects that I might not know, the people who are working on this might not know, and trying to find the contact points. But from like a data science standpoint, I'm like, once this settles a little bit, I'm gonna be very curious. I think this is like a data science project in itself to see what is the impact of this? Is there a license that emerges, and does that change like companies' involvements in projects? So it's like, luckily for me, I am not the responsible party to figure out like what does and doesn't fit under these laws, but I do want to analyze what are the impacts of this on open source, and do we see a new license emerge?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, I know this is like so off topic, but the CRA is so in my mind. If you want a really interesting thing about that, just go and Google everything that's happening right now with curl and CRA, because there's a bunch of projects and ecosystems that aren't stewarded formally, and they're having to come up with different ways of responding to this, even if they are as essential and used millions of times a day, like curl, right? So they're having to come up with their own independent way of handling the CRA requirements. Fascinating space.
I mean, how that's interesting, because curls, it's not coming off any Linux-based systems anytime soon, right? So
This is like,
nobody steps up and owns it. I mean, if nobody steps up and owns it, what are you gonna do? Remove curl? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's definitely for a different meeting, but interesting the way that they're handling it.
Yeah, this is like in the when the dust settles category, because a lot of this stuff I'm not getting too worried about, because it's like with curl, there's going to be a resolution to this, but what is that resolution? How that impacts things? That's where I'm looking at, especially since before I went the data science route, I was planning on going the like tech law route. So all of this is very interesting to me from like more some of my prior work.
Callie, I like what you said about us thinking about what impact it's going to have. And so I guess as things start unfolding and we kind of have others here to keep us updated on, you know, things that are happening in the communities. Because I haven't been keeping track on open source projects as much as I want to, but I really like that this group is keeping track of those things, and that we can start to think through like, well, what is the impact? What can we start to measure? Is there a story we can tell
Yeah.
with that impact?
Yeah, and that's like those type of efforts will be something that I'll be more than happy to help lead, especially at that point. I am hoping that my role transitions more and more to back to being a data scientist and being able to focus on those type of things, and just seeing what I've been working on now and what's in, like, I have a feeling that I will be focused on analyzing from a security angle, and analyzing from like looking at the impacts of CRA. And we're going to also, another angle of this is what is going to be the impacts on open source projects from decreased funding from like NIH funding and those type of things. That's where I see a lot of my focus comes in as the months come through, and I'm able to be more of a data scientist rather than a like
Sysadmin?
system admin, database, really bad at managing databases. All of my college friends find it very funny what I'm doing right now. Because by their words, they're like, that's stupid. You're really bad at that. And I'm like, I agree.
God, your friends. Harsh.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is in the nature of it, meaning that it's a stupid use of Red Hat's money to be having me spending doing this whenever I'm very good at the many other things. That is their, which I have no problem saying the things that I am good at and the things that I'm not so good at. But It's good to develop different skill sets, but I'm excited and ready to be working on data analysis work again.
Excellent. And we'll make for sure to get all those data frames stable for you before they arrive. But yeah, I think the CRA stuff could be really interesting, and it's probably stuff that we're going to have to hit in early 2026 once regulation has come down like a hammer.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I just want to check in with the rest of the group if they have questions about this discussion on CRA.
Go for it.
All right, I don't hear any, oh, there is a hand raised, Peculiar.
Oh, that's sorry. I supposed to have raised the hand before now when you asked if anybody has something else to say.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so normally I'm supposed to have had this in the agenda from CHAOSS Metrics Working Group. Because of what Sia said earlier, I was just listening, trying to figure out from all the information, would there be any metrics coming out from that discussion? So from the CHAOSS Metrics Working Group, I'm actually like in this meeting trying to find out what we are working on, if there will be any metrics that will come out from it, and we might want to develop it, build it into a matrix. Then I would take that information back to the metrics working group to let them know, okay, there's this a topic coming out from the data science group that could be a good topic for that we need to research into and look into it as a matrix. So yeah, bringing it up here. So getting other things we're working on and the informations we're sharing. So in case that we come across something or we think that, okay, this could form a matrix or this could be a matrix that we need to look into and come up with something, I'm actually here and will be willing to take it up and let the person that suggested that or that will bring it up champion it, and we're welcome to bring it up to the CHAOSS Metrics Working Group so that we can work on it together.
Yeah. Callie, did you raise your hand to respond or?
Yeah, this law has come out from the last CHAOSS weekly community call. I'd say directly for this, I definitely see a metric coming out of it, but I think we're too early to really see where that's going to develop. But I do think that I don't know how exactly we want to do this, but I think it'd be a good exercise for this working group, because I can see a lot of the work that we do naturally turning into a metrics model at some like a metrics or a metrics model as the research kind of settles a bit. And so getting into the rhythm with this meeting of, as we're talking about new analysis, new projects, asking the question, do we see a metric in here that'd be useful to CHAOSS? Figuring and starting to have that thought experiment a part of what we do in here. So then it naturally goes towards making metrics that are built off of the research that we do. So the answer for me for the exact situation is I think there's probably going to be metrics that come up out of it, but we're too early on to know what those are, but should be continuously asking that question as we learn more.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's great. And is there a way, when we have I know there's like the list of metrics that we have up on our site, on the CHAOSS site, but then are there examples of those metrics that we pull from the research that is done to say, hey, here's the list of metrics, but underneath these metrics, here are examples of how they've been used. Because then maybe we can, for the ones that are already existing and not necessarily new metrics, we can track that back to say, here are research projects that have used those. Do we know that or not?
I'm not sure that is recorded somewhere where you can see all the metrics that have already been used, but what we have on the site is all the metrics that we have. So is to just like check, do we have, maybe using the tag, do we have this such metrics on this, on that? But for like recording all the metrics that have already been in use, I'm not actually sure if we have place where they're all recorded, but we have place where all our metrics and matrix models are, and you can find anyone that you're looking out for.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you, Peculiar. We are also just a few minutes over time, so I'm just going to go through the reminders quickly. We've got Open Source Summit North America happening in June in Denver. If you want to join CHAOSS, you do have to register for the conference itself. And then there is OSS Summit in EU also coming up in August in Amsterdam. That CFP has closed. Since we are at time, I'm going to end this meeting now, and feel free to reach out on Slack if you have any questions, just want to share information, and just chat. See you all on Slack and in 2 weeks.
All right, thanks everybody.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
For the conversation today.
Yeah,
Bye.
excellent. Thanks, Chan. Thanks, everyone.